نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم. So we finished, Alhamdulillah, with the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We finished the chapter of Hayd. We finished the chapter of Hayd in detail. Not in detail, okay, we done it in the kitab, but this doesn't have a lot of detail. Um, so we need to move on to the next chapter now. The next, if we finish Istihad also, we need to move on to Nifas. But two, three things I just want to share to you. You know, we discussed this in detail. I mentioned to you, and in fact, it's reoccurring in the Kitab that you have to, if a woman bleeds, right? And then if it is lesser than 3 days, right? Then you have to join whatever she bleeds within 15 days to that bleeding. Are you with me? Now, you remember we discussed this and it appears a few times in the Kitab. I just got a question last night. Imagine on the same thing. There's somebody that is in Hajj. Listen nicely. Somebody that is in the Hajj. And because this person was going for Hajj, his wife prepared before the time. And she took some special medication. She took some special medication to stop the flow, right? So normally, if somebody asks me about this, I'll tell you that don't take this medication, but it makes things worse. It makes things worse because then you start spotting. And if you start spotting, things becomes more complicated. Rather let the flow come out. Rather let the flow come out. I'll tell you now, we'll go through the example and I'll show you what the difficulty this person experienced. So a month or whatever before his wife started taking injections, right? So now her flow stopped. But now they just finished, listen to me nicely, they finished pelting, etc. on the ninth day. And she bled for 1.5 days exactly, spotted a little bit and spotted a little bit again. So it was 1.5 days, right? And this is now already 15 days from her last bleed. It's already 15 days from her last bleed. So this is a separate bleeding. So if you follow nicely, because this is 15 days from her last bleed because she took that medication to stop her flow, right? So this is 15 days from her last bleed, right? Are you with me? So now this has the potential to be higher, right? Are you with me? But the difficulty now is this here. Uh, it's lesser than 3 days. So it's not high as yet. So if she bleeds within another 15 days, right, then that will be joined to this and it will become haze. Are you with me? So now he's messaging me, hey, what to do, what to do. So I also have to I consult with them. The haze massage was a bit complicated and it's difficult. So I was speaking to the ulama. So this was the final analysis. Look here. So she made a tawaf ziyarat. She made a tawaf ziyarat. Tawaf ziyarat is the main tawaf in Hajj, right? The main one. You done Kitab al-Hajj in the end of the Kitab, right? It's also called tawaf ziyarat. It's called tawaf al-farz. It's called tawaf al-shart. It's also called tawaf al-ifada, right? So now the question is this here. If she bleeds within 15 days, what is going to happen? What is going to happen? If she bleeds within 15 days, that means 15 days already she was clean, right? And now she bled 1.5 days. So this will be joined to that. This will be joined to that. And obviously it will be more than 3 days because it's within 15 days, right? And that means this will be haze. So that would mean now what? That she made her tawaf in what? She made her tawaf in haze. And what is the penalty? What is the dump for making tawaf in haze? It's a budna. It's a camel. And what's a camel about? 40,000 rand, 45,000 rand. So he's highly stressed now. If she bleed, I told him, you know what? Take that now. Before when we were there, they should say there's something called promulet. But now I heard the latest information. Sana say promulet is not permissible. But some haram in Venus. There's another one, overall. I said, look, you take the overall, right? And inshallah, may dua, there's no bleeding comes, so nothing. So and if you don't bleed within 15 days, then it's what we call just a breakthrough bleeding, right? So, so let's say, let's say you don't bleed within 15 days, right? Then you don't join it most. And this is just like you say, a breakthrough spotting, right? Right. If she does bleed within 15 days, if she does bleed within 15 days, you add it up, right? And once you add it up, right, from that first bleeding till when the second bleeding ends, whatever it is. Now, if it's lesser than 10 days, then that whole thing will be her haze. But if that add up, is more than 10 days, then remember when you bleed more than 10 days, you go back to your habit. You with me? You're following nicely. See all of a side you have to do. Right? So now you will go back to your habit. Whatever habit was before. Now we'll see. So first, if she bleeds again within 15 days, we'll add it up. And once we add it up, if it's more than 10 days, we go back to a habit. There's all things you've done already. It's just a practical application of it. Now, if it is more than a habit, sorry, if it's more than 10 days, we'll go back to a habit. Now, once, right, and if it's less than 10 days, this will be a new habit. Because remember, if you bled last month 3 days, this month you bleed 4 days. 4 days is your habit now, right? So if it's more than 10 days, we'll go back to a habit. If it's less than 10 days, this will be a new habit. Now, once we work it out, we will determine whether she made her tawaf ziyarat in Hajj. So we have to wait now. Nothing. I told him there's nothing you can do now. All you can do now is there's two things you can do actually. One is take the medicine properly and ask. I said go to the pharmacist, ask for the highest dose what you can take, and take that dose and make dua that he doesn't bleed. Right. So, uh, so two things now. If as I told you, worked out, she bleeds, we add it up, and then we look with more than 10 as we go to back to habit, everything. If it comes, emerges, like last night, I was busy with this guy till 12 o'clock on the phone. If it emerges that it was in Haiz, now that means you done your tawaf in father in Haiz, right? You done your tawaf in father in Haiz. So now a budna becomes wajib. So even not only this masla, remember this, even in Umrah, if a woman, this is a very, very common question. People ask, look here, we went for Umrah, etc. And so you do your Umrah normal, everything, but you just wait for your main tawaf till you're pure, right? And once you're pure, you make your tawaf and you come out, right? Now, the problem comes about ticket booked. If you can change the ticket, delay the ticket. In Umrah also, follow nicely. If you can delay the ticket, alhamdulillah, nurun ala nur. You wait till you wait, you delay the ticket, you tell you clean and you do your Umrah finish and you come out, right? Hajj also, that is why also the ulama say don't rush to come, especially if got a woman folk with you, young woman folk, the things go Jamakar, etc. So uh, if it emerges that she has done her okay before two minutes I'll tell you, if it emerges that she's done her tawaf ifada in Hayd and then she redo it whether on this trip or even on another trip, the penalty falls off. So say for instance, um, she becomes pure, whatever, and she's still in Makkah to Mukarramah, and now we're certain that she's not in a Hajj. And even though the Hajj days are finished, the Haram is finished, everything, and she done her Tawaf Ifada again, that would not drops off. Are you with me? Right? That's one thing. Then the second thing is this here. Uh, even if she comes on another trip, it's fine also. So he's stressing big time now. He has to pay, and also it's like a working class guy, the imam somewhere there in Joburg. He's saying, "Where I'm gonna get 40 grand. This comes from Hajj, and I don't know." I said, "No worry, look here. First, inshallah, hopefully she won't bleed again. Take the medicine properly. If she bleed again, then you can. If you're still in Makkah, then and the size is finished, you can do the tawaf, right? Second thing, third thing, if you are back home, right? Then when you come on another, you don't pay the budna, but it's a penalty on your head. Then you have to, in another trip, you can do it also. And then I also asked another mufti last night also that if you fear that, you got no guarantee of life, whatever, if you fear that maybe you pass away, then you put it in your wasiyat, that you put in your will, you put it there, that a tawaf must be done on my behalf, right? Right? Okay, the question is, what's the ruling when you're telling home you can't change your flight? Yeah, explain this here. That if it's in Umrah and you can't change your flight, then you do your tawaf in Hajj, but there you only give a sheep, right? But in a Hajj, if you can't change your flight, either and you do your tawaf finish, then either what you're going to do, you're going to you have to slaughter the camel, or if you don't, not on that trip, so it's a debt on your head. So the next trip you come, you will have to what you call it, you'll have to slaughter, sorry, you have to do it, or as a last resort you have to, when you before you pass away, you would look at, I still got the wife on my head, it must be done, whatever, or I got a budna that must be paid, right? So that's the one thing. The other thing is this here, if she did not do a tawaf with father, right, then she is still not halal, even if she comes home. Even if she come home to South Africa, she's still not halal for her husband. And every time she have a husband relationship, it will be a crime, a penalty against her. That's what I'm saying. So the safer option is that you must do it and then you pay the penalty, because even in Umrah, even in Umrah, I was telling you that if you a woman is out, whatever, so she don't make, she doesn't know the masla, she don't do that final the tawaf of the Umrah, so she will not come out of. There is another option where you call it, you make fasakh, but the ulama don't advise that. You must just get the husband to cut her hair and she cancel it, so she has to make a whole qada Umrah now, right? They should make a whole qada Umrah. That you can do in Umrah, but that you don't do in Hajj. So I was telling you, if she never do the tawaf father and she came home, then when she came home, she will. So here's what I can double check for you. I got my friend Molana Yunus Patel son is in Medina, but from what I remember, a Budna is about 40,000 rand. So you divide by the 20, it is about 2,000 pounds. A Budna is about 2,000 pounds, because rand per pound is 1 to 20. If the camel is 40,000 rand, so that will be about 2,000 pounds. Yeah. So we were saying that if she never do a tawaf ifada, she remains in a tawaf ifada, right? That she remains in ihram. To such an extent, she come back to home, England, South Africa, whatever, she still be in her ihram. And every time she does something that's contrary to the ihram, it will be a crime against her, right? So, okay, the main point I wanted to tell you is this. You see the complications that came about as a result of what? Of taking that medicine. That's why we say, if somebody advise us or ask us, we say, no, don't take the medicine. Leave it. What you do is this here. If you know, more or less, is the ladies, you see what happens is that medicine, it tries to suppress the flow, right? But sometimes it can't suppress the flow. So you get spotting here, you get spotting there. And if the spotting is uh, it's 15 days from the last time, it complicates things, like how this thing is, like how this person here is. That is totally complicated, right? So rather let your flow come on, and if you feel it is your time of haze, etc., book a few days later. Rather book a few days later, so that you know that maybe you know more or less the lady know what is the time more or less. So book 5 days, 4 days later, so that you got extra window time there too. But as I said, this bleeding, it creates more complication at the end of the day, right? So I was telling you that inshallah, I want to discuss with you this masla. I remember when we were in madrasa, we discussed this. It's called continuous female discharge. The question, I told you the different types of discharges that comes from a female front organ. Here, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. If a woman experiences discharge all the time, would she need to make a new wudu at the start of salah? Also, would she need to change her underwear? You got that question, Lukman? If a woman discharges all the time. Obviously, yeah, we're speaking about discharge from the front organ, right? That is our point of discussion here. So I'll read the question again to you. If a woman experiences discharge all the time, would she need to make new wudu at the start of each salah? Also, would she need to change the underwear? Okay, first to understand this masla here, you need to understand. I remember once when we were in madrasa, there was one student, there was some masla related to this, so he went to our Mufti Sab, Mufti Ibrahim Salaji Sab, to ask him about the masla. So he explained it in this manner. He said, look here, a woman's private organ is more like a man, like the mouth and the teeth. There's two sets of lips there, and this is called labia majoria and labia minora. So this is similar to, if you look at your tongue and your teeth. You see your tongue here and you see your teeth here, right? So the tongue would, sorry, not tongue, says your lips and your teeth, right? So the lips would be the outer lips and the teeth will be representative of the inner lips, right? Are you with me? So having understood that, let's look at this masla. We can see we can unravel this masla. So the question here is, what I said, does all types of discharge nullify the wudu? So here, this fatwa here was given by Darul Ulum Azadwal, like the place where I studied. Here, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. The vaginal discharge experience by women can be of three types, right? First, a discharge which originates from beyond the vagina with the possibility of including the fallopian tubes, the ovaries of the womb. This type of discharge is yellowish or greenish and very thick with a strong odor or bad stench. This is impure and will nullify the wudu. This has to be washed off by making istinja with water. And he called Shami. Consequently, if the impurity is on one's clothes, then it must be washed off. If the amount reaches the side of a dirham, which is estimated to be the side of the inner portion of the palm, or calculated to be approximately 3 centimeters diameter and 12 centimeters in circumference, right? Then it is najis. Okay, let me explain to them. It's pretty explain. What he's saying is here, I told you, just imagine the lips as the outer lips of a lady and the teeth is the inner lips. So if something comes from beyond the teeth, it comes from in the mouth. So it means it comes from the reproductory organs of a woman. That is beyond the lips, comes from beyond inside. Now, how do we know how it comes? You ask the question, how do we know it comes from there? Does mean the liquid, the discharge doesn't say, I come from here, I come from there, whatever. How do we know where it comes from? Yeah, if it is thickish and it's got a color like a green color, or it's got like a yellowish color, etc. So that means it comes from beyond both sets of lips. Come from beyond both sets of lips, and in our context, it comes from beyond the lips and the teeth, right? So that is like any other najasa. All the laws of najasa that you've done, that is, if it is bigger than the inside of your palm, you have to wash it. Even a little that comes out, it will nullify your wuzu, etc. If it's lesser than a 50-cent coin, it will be maaf, etc., etc. So that is a regular, you say it is a regular breaker of wudu, and it is a regular najasa. It's just as good as stool coming out, or just as good as urine coming out, right? That you got it right. So that is, I tell you, you will say it comes from the reproductory organs of a lady, or we'll say, like in our context, you got this lips on your mouth, which is the outer lips of a lady, and the teeth is the inner lips, right? So that would be like from in the mouth, right? So that is the first type of vaginal discharge, right? Which is a regular najis thing. Then the discharge from the external outer section of the vagina. That's what I told you now. Remember, I told you a lady has two sets of lips, right? One is the outer and one is the inner. Called labia majora and labia minora, right? So just in our context, just imagine your lips here, your lips on your mouth. This is the outer lips, and the teeth is the inner lip. So if the discharge comes from the outer lip, right, or maybe just inside the outer lips, right, on this outer lips here, or just slightly beyond the inner lips, but sorry, just on the inside of the outer lip, the inside of, but not from the inner lips, not from the labia minora, right? So that there will not nullify the wudu. I'll read it, right? See, the discharge from the external outer section of the vagina, which I told you is, we'll say outer lips, or you can say labia majora. This is moisture that is found on the outer labia of the vagina. This is not impure and will not nullify the wudu. So this is just like perspiration. So what I'm saying is, if a lady put a pad there, or she put a panty liner, whatever. So there's some liquid. So I told you, we thought before any type of liquid that you slide on the pad will break the wudu. No. So this is like a. So she sees there's some moisture there. It's clear. It doesn't have a color. It doesn't have a smell. Nothing. Then the ittifakan, that this is not najis, right? So this is not impure and will not nullify the wudu. This is like perspiration, and it will not be necessary to wash or change the underwear due to this type of discharge. Similarly, it will not even be necessary to wash the private parts. It will not even be necessary to do istinja. So it is just like perspiration that came on there, right? Okay, the question is, how can it be verified where it comes from? I tell you, you will look at the color, and you look at the smell, and you look at the viscosity. That's you. And then ladies, they learn their body also, they know, right? But the main thing is, yeah, I told you, it's you'll see from the smell and the color where it comes from. So this is ittifakan. The one that comes from deep inside breaks. The one that's just on the outside of the lip, that doesn't break. But here's the difficult one now. Here's this ikhtilaf. And forget about ikhtilaf, this the fatwa also this ikhtilaf. So here, the discharge from the inner section of the vagina. So there, I told you, there's outer lips and there's inner lips. And to understand, maybe you can say you got the lips on your mouth and you got the teeth here. So this is the muhtalafi one, where it's ikhlaf. If the discharge comes from, let's say, the set of inner lips, right, around it or just beyond it, that's the one, right? Now, listen nicely. A discharge from the inner section of the vagina, this type of discharge usually is clear, or like it's either be clear or it is cloudy or whitish, but whitish, not 100% clear, right? Moderate, and it's not too much. It's thin or slightly viscous. So it's like more like type of mucus type of a thing. Like you get mucus, right? Well, and it has a mild odor. Remember the first one, outer one, no odor. The one that comes from deep in, bad odor. So this one has a slight odor. What you want? It's right. I'm gonna go out now. It has a mild odor. Listen to it. Right? This charge is very clear, cloudy, or whitish, moderate in quantity, thin or slightly viscous with a mild odor. And this is generally slightly thicker and slimier than perspiration. So perspiration, perspiration is absolutely thin, right? But this is slightly thicker than a perspiration. What is it? So it's a more like a close to a mucus type of a thing, right? So this is slightly thicker and slimy. It is also limpid, viscous, and mucus-like. So this one here, there is a difference of opinion even within the Hanafi madhab. There is a difference with regards to the ruling of the discharge between Imam Abu Hanifa and his two students, Imam Yusuf and Muhammad rahmatullahi alayhi. Right. The former Imam Hanifa says it's pure. The Imam Hanifa says this is pure. That this one that comes from the inner lip, the teeth, the right, it is which has the slight odor and the slightly mucousy, right? So this one here, Imam Hanifa say it is pure, right? Imam Muhammad and Imam Yusuf say no, it is najis, right? So since now listen, this is Mufti Saab now, my Ustad, where I done Ifta Mufti Mutara, right? Mufti Said Mutara. Since many women commonly suffer from this problem, many women they have this mucus that comes from the second inner surface of lips, right? Imam Hanifa's view will be preferred. It will not be regarded as impure, and the ablution will remain intact. Therefore, this type of discharge will have the same legal ruling as the previous type. The previous type is the one that comes from the outer, and this is also in Dadul Fatawa, right? Now, the interesting thing is here, Mufti Saeed Mutara is also my Ustad of Ifta, but he gave fatwa on Imam Abu Hanifa's call that he's not Najis. But interesting, my other Ustad, Marhum Mufti Ibrahim, decided to pass away. I checked his fatwa, but he gave fatwa here on what? He gave fatwa on Imam Yusuf and Imam Muhammad's call. So let's call it the middle discharge. He said no, the middle discharge will nullify. And I think the reason they give, he said it's very difficult to differentiate between the two. Right. So listen now carefully. This ruling is applicable if the whitish discharge is not. So this ruling, we were saying that it will not break the wudu, right? It is slightly mucus-like, etc., etc., etc. The middle one, listen nicely. This ruling is applicable if the whitish discharge is not mixed with blood or semen, and it is, listen nicely, and it is also not due to arousal. That means it just came on its own. Not a person was excited. Normally, the male female is excited, they discharge some type of liquids. So this middle one, which we say that it will not break the opinion, it will not break the wudu according to Imam Hanifa and according to Darul Azhar. There's some conditions. I tell you, there must be no blood, no semen, and it must not be as a result of arousal. In which case, we'll write, because if it's due to, if there's some blood, semen, we'll say, oh, it is due to be aroused, it doesn't discharge on its own, then it will nullify the fast. It will nullify the wudu, right? If one is experiencing a continued discharge of the first type, right? If one is experiencing a continuous discharge of the first type, one be categorized as a ma'zur. So remember the first one that comes from inside the vagina and most probably from the reproductive organs. There, I told you, that's like a normal break of wudu. Like it's like urinating, passing stool, passing in. So that will be subject to the laws of ma'zur. We discussed that in detail. What's the laws of ma'zur? We've done it already. How salat time must pass, etc., etc., right? So, if the entire time of salah passes wherein the discharge does not terminate for a duration of time, allowing one to perform wudu and offer salah, this person will be termed as a ma'zur. However, to remain a ma'zur, the discharge must be found at least once in the following salah time. Before salah time passes without this, whereby the discharge hasn't occurred once, one will no longer remember a ma'zur. A ma'zur will make wudu as soon as the time for salat enters. With that wudu, one can perform as many farais, nawafil, one wishes to within the salah period. But as soon as the time lapses, as we done what khurujul work we done this, right? The wudu will break, we have to perform a new wudu for the next salah. This is all in detail in Fatwa Hindiya. So, due to continual discharge, it will be permissible to use a tampon to prevent the discharge from exiting the private part, causing the wudu to break. This will apply if the first type of discharge as a second. Right. So, what I say normally, ulama don't advise the use of a tampon because you're inserting something into the private part. It's unnatural, etc., etc. Right. So here they're saying if a person is suffering from this continuously, you got this discharge which unanimously break the wudu. It comes from deep in from the we almost finish here, right? From the reproductory, from deep in from the reproductory organs. Obviously, a unmarried girl won't be able to put a tampon in, right? That goes without saying, right? But a married person, it will be permissible to use a tampon to prevent the discharge from exiting the private part, causing the wudu to break. So she can put a tampon, and if the tampon keeps this najasat in the body, etc., right up there, and it doesn't come to the outer, yeah, that's also important. If they put a tampon in, right, and the tampon has two portions, one is in the private organ and one is on the outside, right? So if the najasat, that tampon is soaked to such an extent that that portion of the tampon that is visible, né, you can see uh, the najasat on there, then it will break the wudu. Oh, yeah, I forgot to mention to you, there's two terminologies. It's called faraj dakhil and faraj kharij. That's the Arabic word. I was telling the English words, the labia manora and the labia majora. And this comes in the kitab also. What is a faraj dakhil? What's a faraj kharij? The faraj kharij is if a person, a woman is just sitting as normal, and what you will see with your eye, that is a faraj kharij. But if she opens her legs up completely and what you see inside, that is a faraj dakhil, right? So, like I explained to you, the lips and the teeth, right? So the contemptuous one is what comes from the faraj dakhil. I know I forgot the most important words. So that which comes from the inner lips, which is labia manora, that is called in Arabic is called the faraj dakhil, the inner faraj, right? Which is the inner set of lips. But anyway, so we were discussing that here it is permissible if your wudu is going to be breaking all the time that you can use a tampon. It will make it easier. Although Shariat has already given the laws of ma'zur, etc., etc. But obviously a tampon will even, but especially maybe if you got continuous discharge, but you don't qualify as a ma'zura, you don't. You know something. Sometimes you bleeding, your discharge is coming, but you don't qualify. So then a tampon is like you're saying. Remember that the discharge you have to cover the whole salat time, but the discharge is not covering the whole salah time. So that means a reasonable alternative would be to use the tampon, right? Okay, so here somebody saying that you must use a kursuf as well, which is a cotton pad and doesn't need to go inside like a tampon. But now that's not going to help you so much. Why kursuf is not going to help? Because remember, if from what I understand, you can correct me, if a kursuf is just on the outside, that means the najasat is coming out already. You understand what I'm saying? So you have to stop the najasat from coming out at all. That's why you have to use the tampon. Yes, like just like if you put your hand on your mouth here, the najasat is going to come to the outside. You understand what I'm saying? So a kursuf won't help. If a kursuf is what we in South Africa refer to as uh, okay, so you say it's a kursuf is half inside outside. Okay, so if a kursuf is half inside the outside, then I tell you what I explained in the Masta. So that would help, yeah. If the najasat manifests itself on the exposed portion of the kursuf, we'll say that the wudu is broken. But if you look and you see that you don't see any traces of najasat on the tampon or the kursuf, whatever, then we say the wudu is intact because it's like it's similar like you got a wound here, right? So it's bleeding. If the blood come out, your wudu break. But if you put a plaster to stop that blood from coming out, then your wudu won't break. Remember, the najasat must come out of its mahal. But if you stop the najasat in its mahal, it doesn't break the wudu. So somebody, if the kursuf or the pad, whatever, it's inside and it stops the najasat from coming from the outside, right? So we're telling you, if a person experience, if it is placed on the extra right, so Due to continuous discharge, it will be permissible to use a tampon to prevent the discharge from the exiting the private part, causing the wudu to break. This will apply to the first type of discharge as right. As the second two are not impure. So I told you according to Darul Azhar, one of the major Darul South Africa, one of the big Darul Iftar. Second one, the one from the middle and from the outside is not pure, right? Impure. If it is placed on the external about, yeah, right. If it is placed on the external outer portion of the dice, the wudu will break when the dust happens, regardless if it's visible or not. Yeah, that's why I was telling you the same thing. If the tampon does not actually go inside, it's just on the outside and it comes out, then we'll say the najasa came out of his mahal. And you know, you done this. إذا تجاوز محلي, we done it in all of kutub when the najasa come out of his original place. Then it, yes, if it stopped in its original place, right? So yeah, follow now nicely. If it's placed on the external outer portion of the vagina, the wudu will break when the discharge happens, regardless if it's visible on the outside of the tampon or not. If the tampon is placed in the inner section of the vagina, the wudu will break if the discharge surfaces on the outer side of the tampon. Thing I tell you, you obviously there is a portion that's visible of the tampon, and if by looking there, you can see the tampon, the exposed parts of the tampon. If it's been solid, that means the najasa came to the outside. It came out of its mahal, right, right. If, however, the tampon is inside the vagina, but the tampon doesn't reach the labia, the wudu will not break. Yeah. So say, if the tampon was in line, no, we just missed right now. If the tampon is placed on the inner section of the vagina, the wudu will break if the discharge surface on the outer side of the tampon, if the tampon was in line with the labia or the tampon is inside the vagina. But the bottom outside portion of the tampon surpasses the labia. If, however, the tampon is inside the vagina, but the tampon doesn't reach the labia, the wudu will not break once the discharge surface is apparent on the outside of the tampon. Yeah. Now, if she does wudu again, all right. But I told you sometimes the tampon goes right in and they just have a string to pull it out. So that means the najasat never comes to the outside, then wudu will not break, right? Now, if she does wudu again while having the tampon on and remove the tampon prior to another discharge, the wudu break. Yes. So if she maybe for whatever reason you made a fresh wudu, but now you pull the tampon out, wudu will be broken because you are physically removing the najasat from the body. So there was khuruj and najasat. You understand what I'm saying? Right. Now if she does wudu again while having the tampon on and removes the tampon prior to another discharge, the wudu will break. If she can see the wetness on the upper side, inside portion of the tampon, if it has surface on the bottom, outside of the tampon, it will also break. But if the tampon does not stop the discharge from exiting private part and the wudu is always breaking, she will be categorized as a ma'zur. I told you this, if she put a tampon and despite that it's coming out all the time, and then you don't have the 5 minutes, then she'll be a ma'zura, right? Right. If the requirements are met, if a woman finds it impossible or extremely difficult to discern the different important now. Normally, a woman, they will learn the body, they know the body. But if a woman finds it impossible or extremely difficult to discern between the different types of discharge, then precaution will dictate that she should consider the discharge should be impure, wash it off with water, and make a fresh wudu for each salah, for each salah or each salah time, if she qualifies to be ma'dura. So I was telling you, this Darul Mazhar verses, if you clear, you know that this is not from inside, it's just from the Faraj Dakhil. Then, but if you're not sure, then you better to make wudu. And I told you, if you look at ask Imam Mufti Ibrahim, they say also my Ustad, they gave fatwa on this. They said it's difficult to discern. So if it's not on the outer external, then it's got a bit of color, or it's got a bit of smell, whatever, then better just to make wudu, right? So if you are pretty certain that you know that this is not from inside, it's from the faraj, dakhil, and you're certain, then inshallah you can practice upon it. But if you're not sure, the precaution view is that besides the external one, all other make wudu, right? I hope that's clear. So inshallah tomorrow then we'll start out the actual chapter of Nifaas. بس سبحان الله وبحمده سبحانك الله وبحمدك ونشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك.